Hello and welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review our show. I'm your host, Wayne Liu, and I am joined by this wonderful Monday in Toronto by producer and co-host Alex Wong. Alex, what's going on, man? 2 L's on the weekend?
Yeah, 2 L's, two really annoying L's to me.
Yeah.
Just because, I feel like the Raptors played really good for stretches in both games. Like the Brooklyn game, I felt like was right there.
Yep.
Pascal had, first of all, do you think that was Pascal's, forget about context, because you bring up NBA Finals, Game 1, you can bring up Game 6 as well, but just a single game performance, that's got to be Pascal's best performance ever.
It's funny because it doesn't feel dissimilar from like what he did like a couple years ago, 30-point triple-double against Milwaukee. Remember he had the triple-double and they took away 2 rebounds from him randomly, right? He's kind of done this before, but I think just seeing the 3 games here and how many assists he's averaging, what Kyrie said, which it is funny, everyone's like making Kyrie jokes, and then Kyrie's like, hey, I think one of the Raptors is really good. And everyone's like, wow, let's listen to Kyrie.
Well, it's nice for Kyrie to be, right about something for once.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
So congrats to him for that.
No, but seriously, though, his comment about Pascal sort of just flirting with triple doubles, like that's kind of how it feels, right? Because he is just at a level where he's able to control the game. And so, the only player that there's 2 players I'm not annoyed at whatsoever this season. Like I have never felt even a slight tinge of annoyance.
It's probably Pascal and Fred.
It's Pascal and Fred. Yeah. Everyone else, I like a little bit, Scotty, like for the most part, not really, right? Scotty just starts slow but finishes strong.
Yeah,
that's the kind of player I like.
Okay, we'll get to that. Yeah, fine.
OG and Gary, at certain times, I've been fairly annoyed. Precious, outside of second half of Game 6, or not Game 6, Game 3, fairly annoyed.
Yeah. We're putting that most improved player talk in storage for a little bit.
Yeah,
I'll put that in storage next to my speed hat.
This is why you got to watch one game. This is your rule about season previews.
My theory is correct.
You got to watch one game before you come out with your season previews.
And I think it's okay too to have these takeaways after like 3 games in the season, right? Because listen, like I still think there's a really good Raptors team here, but like just watching them this week or last week, like it made me remember just how much they still have to like grow and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like there's still a development period for this team, and I think the most interesting thing maybe at the start of the season is the role definition.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to them being young. It speaks to also them trying to adjust, because one of the questions from us on the outside looking at the team is like the top 9 of the rotation is the same. You bring in Otto Porter, but it's like essentially you brought back the same roster you had last year. So how is he going to be different? Well, they're actually playing quite differently, and so they're actually shifting some of the roles around. We're going to talk more about that with Alvin Williams on the second half of the program about Fred.
From one point guard to another.
That's right. From one generation of point guard to another. But seriously, though, I think he'd be a great person to ask about this. But they've asked Fred to sort of change his role from, being a main playmaker, your 1B scorer, to sort of being your clear-cut number 1 assist and setup guy, and then also sort of filling in sort of wherever he needs. But there are some other roles to sort of figure out. And also, it's just like you look at the team and they still make lots of like young mistakes. Like I thought, like, for example, against Brooklyn, I'm sorry, but Nick Claxton is a decent player in the league. He's an emerging player in the league. He's had good games before. That might be close to the best game he's ever played as a pro. But also at the same time, one of Christian Coloco, a veteran team with a decently seasoned big, would have kept the lid on him. Right, we have to understand that Nick Claxton is not some sort of spectacular big, and for him, I thought it wasn't even KD and Kyrie who killed the Raptors. They did ultimately. They made tons of big shots. You look at the bottom of the box score after the game on Saturday or on Friday. It was like Kyrie and KD actually had less production than Pascal and Fred. Pascal and Fred were combined 70% shooting from the field, gave you like 21 assists, and scored 55 points for you. Kyrie and KD had 57 points, but fewer assists, fewer rebounds, and shot the ball worse than your top 2 guys. The reason the Raptors lose that game is because their young bigs in both Precious and in Christian Coloco were unable to sort of contain some of their supporting guys, right? And then the Miami game, I don't know. Watching that game, so many defensive breakdowns. Pascal being in early foul trouble. Also, he just wasn't playing great defense in that one. But nobody was playing great defense in the first half. 71 points allowed.
I didn't think they played great defense in Brooklyn either. They were playing really loose.
Yeah.
Like I felt like
Yeah.
it was like an up and down game, and I don't know if that's the type of game that they want to be playing. Because when it comes down to it, you talk about the stats for Fred and Pascal, but like I mean, it was Kyrie and KD who made all the big shots, right? At the end, it was the shot making, and of course Royce O'Neal with the shot at the end. I just didn't, yeah, like I just expect them to be more serious as a defensive team early on.
Yeah.
I'm not getting that
That's where
vibe
the
from-
continuity should have come in, right? Like defensive continuity. Like I was looking at the numbers, and again, this is after 3 games. So obviously you got to give more time for the numbers to sort of show like actually more telling trends rather than just like what has happened through 3 games. But objectively, what has happened through 3 games is the Raptors have allowed 70% shooting at the rim. That's really high.
Damn.
70%. And when you watch the game, a lot of missed rotations at the basket,
Mhm.
a lot of guys in foul trouble. And, there are some things that they need to clean up, right? And I think that expectations are really high coming out the gate. They're playing some really tough games. And honestly, they've been very competitive in all 3 games. So you got to give them credit there. But I think a more mature version of the Raptors would be here 2-1, maybe even 3-0.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of things are the same, like you mentioned. Talk about like the young mistakes. You talk about even individual players like Scotty, who obviously left the game on Saturday with an injury, and he's questionable tonight.
That's a good sign, by the way.
Yes, so he's a game time decision. Chris Boucher is confirmed going to make his season debut tonight.
Yeah.
Otto Porter remains out. Watching the Raptors bench, outside of Precious, his breakout performance in Miami and a couple of Flinsanity moments. Man,
yeah.
Otto Porter, is Otto Porter that important to the Raptors this season, man? Because I feel like we need a couple more guys off the bench, and I'm really curious to see, like, once Porter comes back and obviously Boucher tonight, like, how much of a difference that actually makes.
Well, I think one of the things with the bench is, like, you need guys who can complement the main guys because you're not actually getting, like, a wholesale hockey-style lineup change, right? Like, the bench itself doesn't have to play as a unit. At most, you have 3 bench guys out there at once. Now, some of the 3 bench guy combinations have not been good in terms of the stats, but also when I tell you the names are like, it's Delano, Precious, and Koloko, you're like, okay, yeah, probably those 3 guys wouldn't play too well together this early in the season, especially this early in their careers as well. I think you bring back Chris. Chris is a guy we know who can produce around the starters. He's got good chemistry with Scotty, for example, right? Scotty always finds him in transition. He knows how to crash the glass. He's obviously spacing the floor when he needs to be, blocking shots. Like, Chris is a guy who's been in the program and he knows how to sort of play around the main guys. Thad is another guy who I think can play around the main guys, but they haven't played Thad much at all, right? I thought in the Miami game, second half, he played a lot more, and I thought he was better. But in those up and down type of games, that is not the guy you want out there, right? But I kind of expected Thad to have a bigger impact. And then, yeah, the other thing is you just need Precious to be consistent. And I think for me, it's just like, as a second-year player, there's a lot of expectation, or a third-year player, there's a lot of expectation. Second year in the Raptors program, you had a great second half of the season, and there's been a lot of talk. Remember, even in the offseason, someone asked Nick, like, who are you most excited for taking a jump? And he said Precious. And we know he's a hard worker. However, when you see him in the game, the lows can't be as low as they are sometimes.
Mhm.
Like Nick can't just say, first game of the first half of the season, he says, yeah, I'm only going to play you 5 minutes because I don't know what you're doing out there. And I'd actually play Christian more minutes than him, right? So for him to settle in, for him to even not necessarily have great games every single game, but to not have outright bad games, these are the things that I think as a young team they got to really figure out. Is like, yes, you can struggle, but like even Fred didn't shoot the ball great against Miami. When you look at the game, he's had like 10 assists. His defense was really strong. He made a whole bunch of plays, and it's like, okay, there's no really such thing as a bad game for these guys. Whereas I think for the younger guys, they need to have a higher floor. Even with talking about OG and Gary, like I thought, there are times this season where it's like they just play a little bit better. You probably are here 2-1 or 3-0. But it's also just been 1 week. Any other overreactions after 1 week?
Yeah, overreactions. Fred VanVleet on his way to leading the league in minutes again. 38.3 through 3 games. But
Okay.
it does feel like, and I know you're going to talk to generational point guard Alvin Williams in the second segment about this, so we can save it for that. But it does feel like the burden and the workload, like we've been talking about, it doesn't feel the same, right? Like it doesn't feel the same because of the role. So I don't think I'm super concerned about that. Shouts to him, by the way, picking up his 5th foul at like the start of the third quarter against Miami.
Yeah.
And just basically navigating through that whole second half without fouling out. And per my boy Jay Lou from the other sports network, you know Fred's never fouled out
Yes, I
in
did.
351 games.
Yeah,
That's
actually.
incredible.
Yeah. He's had a couple of 5-foul games, but he's actually never fouled out. I think with Fred, it's Fred VanVleet is Rice.
He's actually
okay.
Rice. Yeah.
Okay. Well, first off, he is
We
Rice.
still got to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Some guys really know how to play and still be aggressive even with 5 fouls. They know how to defend even when in foul trouble, and I think that that's actually a big difference between a guy like Fred and a guy like Pascal or even Scotty. Those guys don't really know how to defend with those sort of, without reaching. Essentially, Pascal reaches a lot. I think actually a lot of the fouls. When we go back and look at, he's averaging probably close to like 5 fouls a game so far this season. I would wager to say like 10 of those are reaching fouls. And Scotty, it's a bit positioning as well. He's a second-year player. I think, by the way, Scotty's defense has been a lot stronger this season. His on-ball defense, he's containing the dribble a lot more. I thought, just even watching the game back in the fourth quarter against Brooklyn, Kyrie was giving it to Fred. Kyrie was giving it to Gary. But when they put Scotty on him, Kyrie actually had a couple possessions where he really didn't have the ability to shift and get a shot off, which is so rare to say about Kyrie because he's actually so skilled on that front. But I thought Scotty did a better job than almost anybody else on the team guarding Kyrie down the stretch. Says a lot about his improvement on defense, at least so far early this season. But yeah, some of these guys don't really know how to play without fouls, right? Without fouling. Whereas with Fred, he's so good at positioning. He's absorbing so much contact into the chest. He still like swipes a lot, but he swipes when it's there, and he doesn't swipe in the way that Gary does, for example. Like I thought Gary, for example, I mean, look, I'm not trying to single guys out. A lot of guys played poor defensively in the first half against Miami when they gave up 71 points. But there are plays transition-wise where like there's end of the first quarter, Gary drives into the lane, gets stripped, which is rare. So he's behind on the play. The Heat go up with numbers. Gary's slow to get back for no reason. It's not like he fell over or anything. He's just jogging back slowly. And then Duncan Robinson was a trailer, which was Gary's man. He's open at the top, and Gary, because he didn't hustle back, decides to gamble and jump from behind as if he was going to block Duncan's 3 or something. Duncan sees this, pump fakes, waits for Gary to land, which was around the free throw line, and then, try to come back and close out. But at that point, you're already done, right? Like some of those things is just like defensively, you got to be a little bit more solid. You can't just gamble. Whereas Fred takes the right gambles. But, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that people on the team can learn from Fred.
Yeah. Another player I think getting a lot of attention right now is OG Anunoby. Shouts to Emma J. Brown. So what have you seen?
Sorry, Emma.
What have you
I'm
seen?
sorry for putting together a compilation.
What have you seen from OG Anunoby through the first?
OG and Ginobili.
What have you
That's
seen?
how he drives. No, I'm kidding.
What have you seen from OG through the first 3 games of this season, William?
Okay, so catch and shoot threes, fantastic.
Yep.
I looked up this, again, this is through 3 games. So all the stats are telling you is what has happened, not necessarily what will continue to happen. However, when you break it down in terms
mentions.
when you break it down between when OG takes a shot with 0 dribbles versus 1 or more dribbles, like a single dribble, right? 0 dribbles, OG Anunoby, his effective field goal percentage is 72%. Effective field goal percentage is just giving you an extra point for threes. Okay. So it's 72% when he doesn't dribble. That's basically like a dunk for most guys. Okay. Very, very good. And most of that is because he's catching and shooting and finishing for threes. When he takes 1 single dribble, 2 dribbles, 3 dribbles, or 4 plus, his effective field goal percentage drops to 25.
Oh man, that's a dip.
That's a third of what it is when he doesn't dribble. Now, of course, obviously you're going to shoot a higher percentage on catch and shoot threes. He's been very open on a lot of these threes too. Good ball movement around by the starting lineup, I think, but when he has put it on the floor, it does not look good. And what I'm looking at, just drives alone, this season, he's driven the ball 23 times in 3 games, right? That's about 8 per game. That's a little bit higher than what he's done in the past. On the 23 times he's driven this year, he has taken a shot 11 times. He has passed out of it 8 times, and he's turned it over 3 times. On the 11 shots, he's 2 of 11 on the drives. And on the passes, he has recorded 1 assist and 3 turnovers. So That is not good at all. And of course, I think when you look at the film of those drives, a lot of those are like he does get 2 feet in the paint. He just doesn't really explode up and get the shot off. It's a lot of those are short, on the rim. But a lot of those are also he falls over or that he's out of control or he only has one option in mind and tries to force the action and doesn't get it off, or he's not reading where the help defender is. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't be blocked by Max Strus twice in one game when you're 6'8", with a 7'2" wingspan and with lots of athleticism and strength. You cannot be blocked by Max Strus twice in one game. Right? So those are things where they got to look at the film. They got to help
you. You got to do better, fam.
No, he does on these drives, because if the goal is we're going to give him the opportunity to be more of a creator, and we're going to take Fred's output down and sort of shift him more in a playmaking role, who is going to be making those plays? If OG's going to be making those plays, you got to do better than this. 2 of 11 from the field, 1 assist, 3 turnovers. And that's not to say it's going to stay like this, but it's got to improve. And it's not just got to improve to where it was last season, because last season on drives, when he shot out of drives, 35%. You're not trying to see a lot of 35% shots either. What you're trying to see is 45, 50. You're trying to see the assists at least be 3 times, maybe 2. Let's just start with 2 times as many as turnovers, right? Let's get to that point, and let's work on the film. Let's sort of work on the recognition. Let's work on the spacing around him. Work on the cutting around him, because we know he can be a nice passer from the post. We've seen him do it before. We know he's able to get deeper into the paint than a lot of other guys. So that's a good sign. You've already done your job at that point. Make the right pass, or either do that or get to the right shot where you can sort of get to an efficient shot. But so far it's I don't know. I just need to see more, and that's why I put the compilation together, because I really wanted to hear what everyone's thoughts were in terms of just like, where is it going wrong? Is it just shots missing? Is it he's missing a specific read? And I got a lot of feedback on that. Some of it was negative in terms of like, why are we putting this together? And I'm just like, that's part of the job of being a journalist. I don't know what to say.
That's what he's getting paid to do. No, I think everything you said passes the the Alex Wong eye test. And I think when you're playing these close games too, and like every possession kind of matters in these back and forth games, those turnovers and those possessions that you're giving up on the offensive end is just going to stand out more. And I think I'm with you too. Listen, it's 3 games. And I think early in the season, it's easy when people have a 3-game stretch like this to be able to point it out, because that's really the only thing that you've seen so far in the season. We've seen better from OG, but also like I think we've known about the areas that he needs to improve on the offensive end for like the past couple of seasons, right? So hopefully like during this season and over the next stretch, he's able to kind of step it up a little, because I mean, I know those 2 losses are really annoying, but I'm honestly not that frustrated, just because like I feel like the most positive spot coming out of this first week, like we mentioned up top, is like knowing that Pascal can operate at this next level right now, like makes me feel really good about this team. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed. Like, he's gonna be screaming that all season, man. But like, so much more patient on offense.
Yep.
From the Alex Wong eye test. The playmaking is there. The playmaking is like leaps and bounds to me. I think this is what they used to talk about with Giannis too. Like how Giannis would just like maybe just put his head down, have a very narrow vision on offense, and then eventually he started evolving into a better playmaker, right?
Yeah.
And I think Kawhi too, in a way. Like I think we saw that in Kawhi when he was here too with the playmaking. Not really? Didn't pass the Willu eye test? Well,
No,
Kawhi passed on playing a lot of games.
I didn't want Kawhi to pass either.
Those were assists too. He passed on playing 3 games a week. So I miss that dude, man.
You down bad.
But and just like all I have down here with the Alex Wong eye test is like Pascal's just got a deeper bag, man. Like I feel like he's just like the mid-range jumper is there. Even the spot up 3s this season, and when he's like finishing at the low post, and I see that he's getting more. I feel like he still feels like he should get more foul calls. Even like
I mean realistically, he's not gonna get more than.
He gets such a tough whistle to me. And I know this is usually your bag, but
more
like
defensively, I think actually now. Offensively, I think he's actually getting an okay whistle now.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of contact on him sometimes that people just let slip away. But maybe I'm just around you and JR too much in the booth. But I mean, isn't that the most positive thing for you? Like, I feel really good knowing that Pascal, with all the talk coming into this season about wanting to improve, becoming a top 5 player, that's still a really high bar. But man, you look at the stats right now, and you look at the way he's playing, like he's right there. 3 games again. It's just 3 games, but still.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's not just 3 games though. You go back to like the end of how Pascal Siakam ended the season last year. It's like it's kind of a continuation of more of the same, but also better, right? Like I think the stat is that in the last 8 games he's got 4 triple doubles. Obviously, this is going back to last season.
Once again, Kyrie's right about one thing.
Finally,
apparently, score one for Kyrie.
No, but no, it's like
don't listen to Kyrie on literally anything else.
Yeah, well, that stuff. But
no, literally anything else.
With Pascal, it's just like he's doing exactly what you want to see out of that position in terms of that responsibility being the number one option. I think that his patience is the biggest thing to me. I think that's the reason why he's drawing more fouls. It's the reason why he's finding more guys. You see a lot of times where he gets the ball, he's not over anxious to score. And that's because he knows he can score. He can get to his spots. Not a lot of guys are stopping him from getting to his spots.
Plus, I feel like he knows that he can command the double now.
Yes.
And when he commands that double, the playmaking is just like on another level.
And that's the thing, too. It's like you got to be patient at times. Obviously, you got to know when to go quick, when to go slow. But especially for him, he always knew when to go quick. He's always got the quickness advantage. He's got the length. He can pretty much get the shot up a lot of the times. But by sort of taking his time a little bit, reading where the defense is coming from, and then putting his back to the basket, catching the ball just inside the three-point line, facing up or sort of backing down, he's just so good at that right now.
But elevate the fries to taters.
Any single time they try to pass, like they try to double team him and force the pass, he's making the right passes. And yeah, the individual scoring is also really good. I think that's the thing too. It's just like even that Miami game where I thought again, second half of back-to-back. Apparently they got in at like 4 8. They got to the hotel like 4 a.m.
Oh right, from New York, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a bit of a long flight. You got to fly all the way
no excuses when you give up 71 in the first half, though.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Fine. That's fair.
Miami played the night before too, although they were home, but still.
They were home. They just went home.
Well,
they
played
11.
against Boston, an all-time team, apparently.
Okay. Well, anyway, they have yet to lose. But yeah, no, seriously, Fred is or Pascal is just. He's coming into his own as a player. I can get used to this.
Seeing this, man.
I mean, right now the stat line is 28 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, shooting 53% from the field, getting to the free throw line 8 times a game. Obviously, got to knock down more free throws and continue to cut the turnovers down just a little bit. But yeah, he's playing great. There are no critiques of how Pascal's playing.
No, I think
defensively, I think they could probably do a little bit better. And my question to you is this: do you think they should get a center this year at the deadline, or prioritize getting a center at the deadline, just so that neither one of Fred or Scotty has to play center? Because it feels like if they do have to guard a lot in the low post, or if they're the main helper at the basket, that they do pick up fouls.
Yeah, but I'm just like not willing to give up like actual assets to get like a center. I feel like, can you just get a body? You know what I mean? Just get a body. Okay, but I feel like Pirtle's gonna cost.
Yeah, a first round pick. That's it.
Maybe 2. You think he'll cost 2?
I don't know.
For one first rounder,
I think one first is
for
enough.
one first round. I'd be willing to. I feel like there's gonna be a bidding on Pirtle though. I'm with you though. Yo, it's honestly.
Well, maybe it gotta be one of those bidding situations where it's like.
What's Jake Layman saying, man?
He's not a center. Man.
Oh, okay.
Also, I don't want to see Jake Layman on the team. What are you doing? He's not a center either.
It's funny because we're having the same conversations as last season. I guess that's what happens when the roster turns over.
Yeah.
And you see the same issues when they play, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. How do we not get to Christian Koloko versus Caleb Martin?
Well, we got time for that. Yeah, your thoughts? First off, the fight came out of nowhere.
It was stupid. Like,
you know what?
Straight up, that's it.
I think there was tension in the game.
There was tension in the game because there's all these little things going on, right? Like Tyler Hero did the too small thing to Precious.
There's all this little stuff. Getting mad at that. They were former teammates. They came in the same draft class.
And then Precious did the same back.
Well, maybe not the same draft class. Maybe one separate.
Was there tension before that, leading up to?
You know what I thought the tension came from?
Yeah.
That 5th foul called on Fred. First off, terrible foul call in the first place.
Because Kyle was stepping in.
You reviewed it and you saw that Fred made a perfectly normal legal contest and that Kyle drifted forward.
They got to fix that rule too, man.
Then it didn't change the call. I don't know if why the officials didn't change the call, but they should have.
Yeah.
You got to put your ego aside and just do that. By the way, those 3 free throws ultimately came back. It was a very important part of the game in a 3-point game. But also,
so was giving up 71.
That just
in the
put a
first
lot
half.
of tensions. Then there were a lot of technicals being given out and all that stuff before that. And then you get that random interaction.
Well, I don't
think there was anything simmering between Christian and Caleb, but I think the game itself got more
straight
spicy.
up. I just didn't know what Caleb Martin was doing. Like I didn't know what Caleb Martin was doing. Like he just decided to escalate the situation for no reason.
Well, I think he thought that Christian chopped him on the neck for some reason, for no reason.
It was a pure like basketball possession.
Yeah.
They were just going for the ball.
Yeah,
And
well,
then they got up, and then Caleb Martin has his fist clenched,
and he stepped over
and then
him.
and then he shoved him into
Yeah.
the seats.
Well, that's why he got suspended.
and
Which
Udonis Haslam is like, "Yo, this is what they brought me back for." You think he's gonna check in tonight?
no,
Give him the 2
actually?
minutes, 2 points, 2 tech.
Oh man, no, I don't. Come on, man, don't make UD play
The
against Christian.
UD triple
Do you
double.
think? Do you think Udonis Haslam is twice as old as Christian Coloco?
Oh man, yeah, UD's 40, right? What's Coloco?
He's like 42, I think.
Yeah,
Let
yes.
me look up.
So
Udonis
Caleb
Haslam.
Martin has been suspended tonight, along with
42.
the not MVP Nikola Jovic.
Yes.
So
we're leaving the bench.
By
the way,
that's gonna make a big difference tonight. 91-90 Raps.
shout out to Nick Nurse. I was listening to his post game interview,
Mm.
and they're asking about the fight, and he's like, "Yeah, I imagine there'll be more to come from that, because usually you got to look at the bench scenario, and
Oh, so he was giving the league
I'm not
office a
saying
little
I'm not
nudge.
saying it was dry snitching, but it worked. It
Oh,
worked.
Nick loves to talk to the managers, man.
Mm.
That's the vibe Nick's got on the sidelines. But yeah, so but Christian Coloco also got fined $15K for the incident. For doing nothing. Listen, I'm not gonna be that outraged about it, but
He
like
did not do nothing though. He
he did not instigate the incident.
He didn't instigate,
he
but he
didn't do
did
anything.
No, he did wrap him up. He did
Yeah, but that was more like just like self-defense type. Because Caleb Martin was acting wild.
I'm just not surprised that they were both thrown out and
Well,
that he got.
I'm just glad now I know
I'm happy
Caleb-
that Miami got more of a.
Yeah, well, I'm glad next time we play
Punishment.
who he played for. I know Caleb Martin's on the Heat.
You should know,
So-
man. He
so I won
almost
out.
ended Scotty last year.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
This guy's the hitman.
Anyways,
Yeah.
what a first week for Coloco, man. Neo concert
So yeah, well, yeah,
in
go
the
ahead.
rotation. Gets to he grew up, watching KD. Wears
Yep.
35 because of him.
Yep.
Gets
Where's
to go up
KD's
against
because
him.
of him?
Yeah, and oh, you know that. And then gets into a fight with Caleb Martin.
Yeah. Apparently, it's the quickest ejection for any rookie to start their career.
Oh, like 3 games in?
Yeah, it's like
That's
either 3
hilarious.
games in or 3 minutes, or like the amount of minutes
Well,
played or whatever.
it just
but
shouldn't
yeah.
have happened.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
I don't know what's going on.
I think it was a net positive because I actually think that Caleb was playing well in that game, and he was playing better than Coloco was. So that was actually a positive for that game, and it's a positive for this game where Caleb's not going to be participating.
All right. That's
So-
2-point advantage for the Raptors.
Yeah,
All right,
there you
before
go.
we go to break, just
Yeah.
want a quick shout out today to the Miami Heat announced that Amy Audibert has joined them as their new radio analyst and TV studio analyst.
Well deserved.
Glad the news is finally public.
Oh
But
yeah, well, yeah.
congratulations.
Mr. YOZ Sports over here.
Oh,
already
come
knew
on, come
about
on,
this
come
one.
on, come on, man.
For a
No
leak.
leaks. But yeah, no,
Not a single leak though. Yeah.
congratulations. Congratulations
seriously.
to Amy. And, been talking to Amy. Obviously, hopefully we'll have her join us at some point
Yeah.
to do a proper farewell to the Raptors fans and talk a little bit more about Caleb Martin and the Miami Heat. Be cool.
No, it's great for Amy. She has strong ties. She went to school there,
Yes.
and I mean,
She'll get to be in Miami in January.
I mean, Miami in January sounds pretty
when
good.
Will
too,
has to
so-
come in on his scooter in a snowstorm after Dwayne Casey and the Pistons beat the Raptors. 114-98.
Man. 114-98.
That's a lot of
Damn.
points.
For some reason, the Raptors can never score against the Pistons. But anyway,
Yeah.
look, we're going to take a break right here. I've been your host, Willu. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, William Liu. Continuing to be joined with producer and co-host Alex Wong. We will soon be joined by Alvin Williams as well. Producer Derek is working diligently to get Alvin on the line. Yeah, Alex, you weren't prepared for this, but we can talk
I'm
more
always
ball.
prepared, man.
Yeah.
Backup topic. You know Chung Chung, the Korean hot dog spot?
This is the backup topic?
Yeah. They got money like that though, eh? So they're an in-arena vendor this year.
Yeah.
And watching the games on the weekend, they've got the digital ads on the court during the games.
I saw that, yeah, against Miami.
You saw that like LeBron, or did you
No,
see that?
I legitimately
Because
saw
every
that.
time you say that, I
By
have
the
to
way,
clarify. Yeah.
So there's way more ads on the NBA court now than ever before. Remember when the big ad before was the Raptor logo on like the baseline was like that?
Oh,
that,
yes.
like, supposed to be like a
Yes, the
optical
3D,
illusion.
the 3D thing, right?
yeah, like that was the only one. Now when you watch them play,
Yeah.
it says Google on the court. It says Google Pixel, reminding me that my Pixel's 2 editions out of date now.
Yeah.
It's got hot dogs on the court.
Yeah.
It's got Scotiabank on the court.
No,
you know,
like, we always talk about Chung Chung with one of the producers here, Lance Kennedy, who's a fan.
Yeah.
Who's a fan of the Korean hot dogs as well. And I just didn't know. I didn't know their bag was deeper than Pascal. There.
Apparently.
Is that what you needed from me?
That's what we needed from you because
Okay.
Alvin Williams, Raptors point guard legend, is on the line. Alvin, how you doing, man?
What's up? How are you?
We're doing well. We're doing well. Clearly, we're doing well because we were talking about hot dogs right before this. So thankfully, we got you on the phone. Actually, but before we got, because I really wanted to talk to you about Fred and his new role this year. They're shifting his role a little bit more from scoring to sort of playmaking and all that stuff. But actually, just because we're on the topic of this, have you ever been in an NBA scrap?
No,
Not
never,
a single one.
Never been. Not in one, man. Not one. It was. Yeah, no, never been in one.
Okay. Is it just like everyone knew not to try you, or is it just like it just never happened kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that's it. They knew.
Okay.
They knew what was good for him. And you know what? I had Charles Oakley next to me, so I had some big dudes. I remember one time Isaiah Thomas, when he was coaching the Pacers, told them next time I went to the lane and do a couple things, and had a couple choice words, say do something to me, and Oakley got my back real quick. So it was one of those things. But no, we never really got to anything.
I was gonna say that's those type of players no longer in the game. It's unfortunate, The Raptors don't have a Charles Oakley anymore, On that.
They got some tough guys as a whole, but Charles Oakley was just somebody different, and the game was different.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Oak was a little different.
All right. Well, my other question on this subject was who was the Caleb Martin of your era?
Who's Caleb Martin? I mean, I know who he is, but what do you like as far as what?
Just players who would kind of get up in your face a little bit for no reason.
Shucks, you know what? I really don't know. A lot of players, the game was much more physical back then, right? So a lot of people had that approach. Defensively, you had to be physical. So it was different. I like Caleb Martin a lot. I like the energy he brings. I like what he does for his team. I like what he did last year. But I don't see him as being. I see some. I mean, of course, I thought that wasn't a good move what he did to Koloko the other day, standing over top of him. But I don't see much wrong with what he does. But I don't know who's the Caleb Martin back in my day. It was a long time ago, man.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's talk about Fred VanVleet, right? Point guard currently for the Raptors. Now, I think last season at the start of the year, Pascal was out. And it was like a lot of young guys. Scotty, we didn't know Scotty was going to be like this. He's going to win Rookie of the Year at that time. So Fred really had to be both the lead scorer and also the lead playmaker. And so much of the game sort of came down to whether or not Fred VanVleet had it that night and what he could do, right? I think the big change to me, and I'm curious your thoughts, is just like he started this year with a clear mandate to be more of a playmaker, letting other guys sort of get their shots the way they want to score. And he's going to fill in sort of wherever he can. Is that the impression you're getting from his, change in role from the start of last season to right now?
Yeah, it is different. The ball's out of his hands a little bit more. He's a recipient of other people, whether instead of making plays for himself, and that happens. The shift is good that you don't have many players, coming off an all-star season and scoring the way he was scoring and doing the things he was doing that would accept that role.
Mm-hmm.
They probably want to build off of what they did and become an all-star again and continue But you got to take your hat off to Fred, and then you got to understand what the Raptors are trying to do as a team. I think it is important to have Scotty Barnes more involved with the offense, be more of a ball handler because he can do so many things at his size and he has a lot of ability. So it's just a shift. Now it's up to Fred to just figure out the balance because he's going to need to score. You know he can score. Now it's the balance, when to score. And I think those fourth quarters and those timely times where you can go for yours and you can break the momentum or you can, put the game away. There's not many people around that's better than Fred making those big time shots and putting his team on his back at times. So it's just about him finding a balance and seeing what's best for the team.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that Brooklyn game was a great example of what you were mentioning there. It's like, when the Nets started going on their run in that third quarter and they were trying to make a push and they took the lead and the Raptors started the third quarter slow and Kyrie was going off, Fred kind of took over and he's like, you know what? I know my team's struggling a little bit here. We're not really getting great shots from the other guys. It's time to call my own number. And he was hugely efficient in that game, had 18 points on 7-11 shooting. But I think overall, like, he's playing the same minutes as last year, right? Still 38 minutes a game, still quite a lot. But 2 of the 3 games here, he's only taken 9 shots. Last season, when he played 60-plus games, he only had 2 games all year where he took less than 10 shots. He had a game where he took 4 shots. He left that game against Indiana. That was the game where the roof was on fire. So he left that game. And then there was a Cleveland game, second half of the season when he was banged up. He only took 9 shots. So this is already a big change for him. But I think my question is, like, how do you think the coaching staff and even management itself sold this sort of role change to Fred? And what do you think it says about his character that he was actually receptive to such a big change?
I mean, we already know he's a high character guy, class act, very intelligent, hard worker, leader. Like all of those qualities in a person that you have, that shows how special he is. I'm not sure what the process was or how they went about explaining the new role, or it was just something where, it just started happening through the offense and just through how things start being, just cultivated. Once again, I do believe that Scotty, having the ball in his hands, you are developing, and you hear a lot about his usage rate and all that type of stuff. And that they're probably trying to address that. And then when you have a player that can play off the ball like the Fred, and then you have a player that can play on the ball, you can do more things. Now, Fred could not shoot or do things, as a shooter, as an offensive player. Now it's more of a challenge. But since he is so valuable and he can do so many things on and off the ball, it's easier to have him in that position. But it says a lot. Like I said, I'm not sure how many players are really receptive to having the ball taken out their hand, more than it was last year. And he had such a great season last year. But I also think Fred got worn down last year. I think, he had a bulk of the offense and responsibility defensively. We know how hard he plays on the defensive side. So now it's times where you can once again balance it out. And then you can preserve yourself, you can save yourself when those moments are needed. Now in the games and during the rest of the season, you may have some big games in there down the stretch, playoff time that we need a fresh Freddie. We need somebody like that. So a lot of those things could be taken into consideration. And like I said, I'm not sure how they communicated that with Fred, but I think the team is a better team than it was last year, and sometimes roles do have to change.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think everyone can agree that Scotty should take on more of those extra touches that sort of left behind there, those opportunities to sort of initiate the offense. And I think at times he has, right? But it also feels like, to me, seems like a lot of the extra shots are also going to Gary and OG. They're getting a lot more opportunities to also not even necessarily initiate or even create, because they've scored a lot in the last year. OG at times was over 20 a game, and Gary had that 6-game stretch where he's scoring 30 plus. But do you feel like those are the guys that should also pick up some more of those extra shots, or do you feel like it should mostly funnel towards Scotty?
I just see as far as shots, I just see not really Scotty more shots, just more opportunities to make plays, right? Have the ball in his hands, and then the other guys can get those opportunities as well. Gary Trent, he's a guy that can go seek his own shot, and OG as well. So when you do have those players that you can give the ball and put the ball in their hands that can make plays, that's a benefit. So, as far as Scotty is not necessarily just being a scorer. It's just being more of a person that can play make for others and himself, and at his height, and at his his overall skill set. Once again, I think it all just makes the team that much better. And then you can't forget about, Pascal's playing lights out.
Yeah.
He's assisting and he's being efficient. He has these opportunities on one-on-one situations as well. So when you have that dominant player that's taking that role, everyone else is going to have to take a back seat. You're going to have to watch a little bit more, right? You're going to have to watch and let him go to work, and then it's going to be up to Pascal to make sure he keeps everyone involved, because the ball is in his hand most of the time. So once again, everybody, when your team is better and when you make that leap, whether you acquire someone or players just get better in the off season, you have to be ready to make a sacrifice. And I think all the best teams, they have players that make sacrifices. And when the Raptors won the championship, guys made sacrifices. And I think one of the guys that made one of the biggest sacrifices was Serge Ibaka, even going to the bench when Marcus Gasol came. So, that's what happens. Kyle Lowry made a huge sacrifice of being a guy that the ball was in his hands, he and DeMar, to being a third option pretty much, or just with the rest of the guys when you had Pascal coming in and coming into his own, and then you had Kawhi Leonard. So Kyle wasn't used to that role. And then you had, like, when Kawhi would be out every other game or no back-to-backs, Kyle was expected to score more. So he had to find that balance. But once again, the overall theme is sacrificing for your team to be the best version of themselves or itself.
Yeah, no, it's good. And it says a lot about the Raptors and their character and their commitment to winning sort of across the board when the leaders are doing that. Yeah, I actually just wanted to touch on Pascal too, because, you've seen him up close now quite a bit. We saw him finish the season strong last year. Do you see this as a continuation of what he did at the end of last season? Or you see him as taking another step, having this last offseason where he's clearly worked really hard on his game? Have you seen anything new from a player's perspective of what Pascal's been doing this year as compared to last year?
I saw a lot of it last year. Like you mentioned, down the stretch, he was playing some consistent basketball. And the thing about that was his assisting and getting people involved. This year, I think he's doing it a little bit more and a little better. And I think, once again, he made that push, right? You could tell over in the off season, he put a lot of work in. He's very consistent. He's confident. He's stronger. Like, I just remember watching him play early on. He had ability. He had the moves, but he wasn't as strong, right? He wasn't like, he would be on the ground a lot. He would fall a lot. He's a grown man out there. He's posting people up. He's taking his time. He's being physical on the offensive end. And then, like I just always talk about, when you start looking at players and ranking them as the best in the league and the best of all time, and, they take that step, it always, to me, goes on that defensive end. When you look at the players that really took their games to the next level, whether it was Jordan or Kobe or LeBron, and I even look at Steph Curry now.
Yep.
Like last year, he was not a liability on defense. And I think we all know Pascal can play great defense. Now it's about setting that tone night in and night out, taking that challenge and looking to guard the top players, whether it's whatever position it is. But he's doing a hell of a job, man. And you hear more and more how much work he's put in the offseason. People are vouching for him. People are witnessing it, and people are speaking up. And I talked to Rico Hines yesterday, assistant coach, and he was just saying how much work Pascal's been putting in. He says it's not just this year; it's been over the past 7 or 8 years. And it doesn't matter who's in the gym. It doesn't matter the names or whatever. He's playing against everybody, and he's working on his game. And you can tell he set the tone, and that's what you need from your best player.
Yeah, that's wonderful here. And honestly, when you think back on, like, players who have improved the most from when they entered the league to where they are now, the skill elements to his game, obviously he always had the physique to be a successful NBA player, but all the skill work that he's put in to get to the point where he is today, I mean, yeah, Pascal's playing fantastic. All right, Alvin, we appreciate your insight. We appreciate your time. Enjoy Miami, and we'll see you on the broadcast.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one, guys.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
There you go. Alvin Williams, Sportsnet teammate, but also Raptors point guard.
This guy said, "Who was your Caleb Martin?"
Oh, come on. That wasn't a good question.
Derek Brandejo, add that to the Delano Banton. What was your favorite part of your championship Hall of Fame?
No,
My boy John, degenerate John, messaged me. He's like, Alvin doesn't seem into it. I'm like, yeah, because he asked about who your Caleb Martin was. No, shouts to Alvin, man. Honestly, I always appreciate his insight. And I got to play my Fred VanVleet role too, just stand in the corner. It's great.
Oh, you were playmaking.
Waiting for the catch and shoot.
There was no kick out.
Yeah. No, it's honestly all the role definition stuff is really interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure it's something that's gonna sort itself out like in the short term.
Yeah. I agree.
Right?
I agree. But I mean, I don't know though. But you talked about continuity, like that's when continuity is supposed to be there.
But that's the problem though when you have a lot of players that haven't like gotten to a particular level. You know what I mean? Like there's like Scotty, you're not sure what level he's getting to, even like this year. I feel like Scotty's the biggest wild card, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because a lot of discussions coming into the year, I think people were, optimistic enough to say, oh, by the end of the year, will this be like Scotty's team?
Yeah, I mean, come on. It's Pascal's team.
We got to put that one in storage as well.
No, it's Pascal's
Pascal.
team.
Pascal on fire. But that's why I'm in a decent mood. I feel like usually...
I'm not stressed.
I feel like usually
just
coming off 2 annoying losses, it's kind of tough in here, with you just, sucking the energy out of the Sportsnet building.
No,
but
it's not me.
No, you're in a relatively good mood for someone on a 2-game losing streak, because I know you wear every loss on your sleeve.
No, I mean, look, I always anticipated these sort of like mini series to be split between good teams, at least.
Well, this is my theory coming into the season, that the Raps aren't gonna get swept in any of these.
Okay, well, it's on the line tonight.
But
it's on the line tonight.
Kind of want to push that back now that I realize the Raptors aren't that serious on defense.
All right, well, don't be more serious.
I just thought they were like, a more disciplined team.
Yeah, well,
that's been my biggest disappointment so far this season.
It's okay. They're getting Chris Boucher back, the most disciplined defender on the team. And now it's time for Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game. Alex, what's today's line?
Yeah, today's line. The Raptors are plus 3.5 underdog in Miami. Similar line to Friday. Once again, shouts to my friend John. I hate to sound like a broken record, but I like the Raptors tonight.
I like the Raptors too.
No,
because I'm always going to say I like the Raptors.
No, listen, I think for all the reasons where, I said, we shouldn't give them the benefit of the doubt just because their flight didn't land until 4 a.m. Like,
I mean, it's a major factor, man.
It's hard enough playing Miami, right? Like, I think when you go from playing a team like Brooklyn, sure, Brooklyn's really talented, but they're not a physical team, right? Like, that's a finesse game.
They played a lot. They played a lot of physicality in that game that I wasn't expecting, but that's not a usual thing for them.
It's not 48 minutes against Miami, where for some reason the Raptors are just losing bodies all the time, or Caleb Martin is just picking fights with people.
Over me.
So I think there is an adjustment when you play Miami, and these games are always tough. And hopefully they got their 71 points allowed out of their system on Saturday, and you would expect just a tighter matchup tonight.
Oh yeah, no, I'm expecting a 90-89 grudge match.
Oh yeah, that seems high.
Take the under on the total for this game.
Take the under.
No, but seriously though, I think that the only thing that's concerning to me is the adjustments that both coaches might make. You just don't know, because they're both very creative, very like two of the best tacticians in the league, Eric Spoelstra and Nick Nurse, right? So defensively, I could see some changes happening. I think for the Raptors, more than anything else, the biggest change is get back on defense. Once they fix their transition defense by playing some transition defense, Miami's half-court offense didn't look that good. And I think
that the basket at will. It's just layups, man.
Yeah, but then they stopped tilting more towards Jimmy Butler in the second half, and it's just like, I don't know. I just think that with Miami, the biggest threat to me is their 3-point shooters. They're running around all the time.
Yeah,
they get an offensive rebound, their shooters are open. They get in transition, their shooters are open.
Miami's annoying, just like the Raptors are annoying.
Handoffs.
They're so annoying.
Yeah, just make sure you communicate all of those. But I do think that the Raptors will win tonight. Like, I mean, you give me 3.5 points too, so it's great.
All right.
Are you going to bet on them tonight?
We'll see about that. Have to consult my consigliere, John.
No, you got to make another 3-way parlay with the Utah Jazz.
Shouts to John. Congrats on our 3-way NFL parlay yesterday. That's why you always believe in the Bengals. Before we wrap up, more important news. Drake is giving away free chicken at Dave's Hot Chicken today.
Oh, by the way, that was Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game. All right, go ahead. Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yes,
you
Drake
messed
and
that
chicken.
up.
Yep.
Yeah, Drake is giving away chicken. And did you know there was another Nick Nurse British Basketball League story? From Adam of the Daily Hive.
All right.
So he was asked about Steve Nash on Friday, and Nick Nurse said that he met Steve Nash in '98 when he was coaching the Manchester Giants in the British Basketball League, and Steve's brother Martin was playing for Stockport County.
Yeah.
Then in the second tier.
Okay, to be clear, that is a soccer team.
Really?
I think it isn't. Did
Really?
his brother not play soccer?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
By the way, this story is in his book.
Oh, it's in the book that you
Rapture.
reread
Rapture.
to prep for your interview with Nick Nurse last
That's
week?
right. I reread it for a 15-minute interview in which half the questions were, hey,
This
I read
is a
your book.
dedication, man.
Yeah. Well,
Anyways,
we got to interview Nick again.
Raps got the W, so we'll recap the Raptors win tomorrow.
Yeah.
Vivek Jacob will join us in studio. I'll be here in the second segment.
Oh, okay,
You
that's
seem
good.
shocked.
No, that's good. That's
I just
actually
want to
pretty
see
good.
what it's like to come in the studio twice in a row.
Okay, well, that'll be a first. But that for now, that does it for us today. I'm your host, Walu. You've been listening to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review our show. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Thanks again to Alvin Williams. Catch him on the broadcast tonight. Sportsnet, of course. Producer and co-host Alex Wong. Our board producer Derek Brandale and Jennifer Rolnick for helping us with the YouTube stream. We will talk to you tomorrow.